Sentry mode activated. Target acquired.
Hey there, hunters. Sure has been a little while, huh? So you can guess from the title and the thumbnails and whatnot that we're going to be talking about bow in Rise today. This is not a meta video since the game's not even out yet, but thanks to Arati, I can kind of show you what bow is going to look like and kind of what we're going to need to be keeping an eye out for in launch. Now remember, we only have a raw bow in the demo here and no skills. Also, this information is kind of subject to change. This is all data mined information from the demo 2, which has been consistent with demo 1, so more than likely will be true in the actual launch, but you never know. But anyway, just take it with a grain of salt. But let's just move on. So first, let's talk about stamina management for the bow. Now in the demo, bow's gotten a lot of hate because its damage is pretty poor and the stamina management is atrocious. Totally understandable though. However, thankfully we will have dash juice in Rise, and it will function like dash juice in World. Unlike previous games where it gave us infinite stamina, this one's going to give us less stamina reduction, probably kept out at 50%, just like World was. Now this is to be expected because infinite stamina would just be broken. However, this alone does make the demo bow feel way better. Now, you all should know, gunner equipment is very skill dependent, and bows need a lot of stamina management skills and items to actually feel nice. And without them, here in the demo, kind of left us feeling pretty pathetic. So just this one item being available has made kind of a huge difference for us. Now, the other thing we're missing in Rise is Quick Shot, and that's kind of huge too. In World, Quick Shot had let us reset our bow combo rotation while still allowing us to regen stamina. This is what kind of prolonged our dash dancing and kept our DPS up. Since it's not here in Rise, the replacement we're going to most likely have to use is the Vault Skillbind attack. After we deplete our stamina or need to evade, using this art to regen stamina rather fast is probably going to be our best way of getting back into the fight. Obviously this is a lot slower than just doing Quick Shot, but I think this is what we're going to kind of have to do. And since we don't know what armor skills are in the game, we don't know if Constitution is going to be there, or Stamina Surge, Stamina Cap Up, anything like that, or if they're going to just function differently. We don't know, so we're not really going to dwell on that. We're just going by what the demo shows. So that's basically it for stamina management. It's going to be fine. Even with just dash juice and this vault skill, it feels significantly more manageable. So I have high hopes that in the actual game, it's going to feel much better. But let's move on to our damage rotations with the information we have right now. One of the critical changes to bow in Rise is that using power shots with your circle or X, wherever the button it's going to be, will end your combo. So you can't do like rapid power like in World. Ultimately, what charge you're going to want to use is dependent on your bow's shot pattern, which we'll get to in just a second. But the only combo bow really can do in Rise is just charge to an acceptable charge level, probably 3 or 4, and then just shoot. And then if you have time, stamina, spacing, whatever, use power shot and then a regular shot, which is the follow-up. Your power shots won't be like they were in World. They're going to be exactly what your last charge shot is, but you're just going to be able to prolong it for 2 more shots before you have to reset your charge level. So for example, if we have a bow that has normal 2, 3, 4, and 5 as its shot pattern, we can hold the charge until we get to normal 5, and then fire a power shot for an additional normal 5, which will be the exact same as the previous shot. And then if we have time, we can do another follow-up, a regular shot for the exact same damage. So power and the follow-up are not going to be any stronger than your just regular shooting. So the only reason why it's there is to give you more burst and give you more shots in before you have to reset your charge level. So it's kind of a mix between Old World and New World bows. So because of this, there really isn't a bow combo rotation that you need to worry about. Just charge until you get a clear shot and then follow it up with power and a regular if you can. And that's just about it. While you can dash dance to get some more DPS in and get more bursting, you can't really do any fancy rotations. So again, this is going to be just like a middle ground between Old World and New World bow. And that's just what I've seen from the demo. Since we don't have access to the switch skills and the other moves to change things around a bit, the default bow is going to be kind of like this. I mean, obviously we're not going to be using the melee lunge, the melee swings, and Dragon Pierce. Those are all bad. Even though Dragon Pierce is actually better than it was before, I still think it's going to take way too long to use to be worthwhile. So with the non-existent rotation out of the way, let's get into details that actually matter, which are the motion values, damage, and then kind of like how the bow's actual stats work. So let's start by telling you what you're looking for now when we're looking at bows. First is going to be the shot pattern. Since these are returning from the old games, every bow is going to be different, and that's not really going to be a good thing. Bows will have different types of arrows per charge level you need to look for. This is your first stop. Now bows will have up to 4 charges. They're either going to have normal, spread, or pierce shot types up to level 5. What we want is 2 of the same shot types at charge 3 and 4 of the bow, because obviously the higher the charge level gives more of a damage and elemental modifier, and obviously we want our strongest shot types at our highest charge levels. Having a bow with rapid 5 on charge 1 and rapid 2 on charge 4, that's going to be pretty awful. So ideally the best bows, which is what I'm using here in this little modded demo, is having rapid 4 and 5 on charge 3 and 4, likewise spread 4 and 5 and pierce 4 and 5 on these charge levels. Now alternating shots is going to be a huge nuisance, so we're going to have some bows that are going to have shot patterns like pierce 2, rapid 4, spread 3, pierce 5. It's going to be awful to play with because you're going to be changing your critical distance, and your shot pattern is going to be changed with every single shot. So we really want to focus on bows that have 2 shots at the same type in the last 2 slots. Now as far as the arrow shot types go, they all seem pretty solid in my opinion. Rapid 5 shoots 4 arrows on a 12 motion value, spread 5 is 5 arrows on a 10 motion value, and pierce 5 hits up to 5 times on a 12 motion value. Obviously the motion value is prior to charge levels and coding modifiers. Now spreads are going to be a little weird though. They fan out very far like in the old games. I'm not entirely sure how well we're going to be keeping them clumped on an enemy, kind of like in World. We might default to rapids instead, because spreads have a 50 motion value if you land all your spreads on a target, and rapids have a 48 if you land it, and rapids will be a lot easier to focus on one spot of the monster. Now pierce has a 60 motion value, which obviously is better. That's going to depend on how many hits you can actually get on a soft spot. Although I do like pierce, the crit distance is actually really forgiving, and the pierce ticks are very fast. Like even across Mizu's back, you can get 3 of the 5 hits pretty consistently. Now the next thing we need to look at is the arc shot. We lost the ability to KO coming from World. Instead, each bow will have 1 of 3 different types of arc shot. You either have a small heal over time, which is what we have here in the demo. You'll have an affinity boost for a short duration, or another short duration flinch free boost. These should always come second to the shot pattern, as they won't make a huge difference in the fight. However, the affinity is obviously going to be pretty good, and flinch free might be usable in groups, but it doesn't last that long, maybe 30 seconds. Then the coatings are going to matter, probably more than the arc shots to be honest. Every bow will have close range coats, that's obvious, but we need power coats. Not every bow is going to have them. It's entirely likely we'll get some crazy good bows with like rapid 5 on charge 3 and 4 with no power coatings. We should be able to make do with just these close range coats, but we'll have to see what the raw and elemental values are, but power coats are basically your number 1 priority. Other coating types like para and sleep and blast are always nice, but shouldn't be a deciding factor for your bow at all. We will have boosted coats like in previous games. Some bows will come with enhanced coatings. We don't know what, where, when, and why though, but you know, that's going to be still a thing. So ideally the best bows that we're going to be looking for are getting up to charge 4, maybe that's going to require load up or bow charge up, whatever the skill is going to be. But they're going to have level 4 and level 5 shot types on charge 3 and 4. Affinity arc shot, power coats, and boosted para or sleep coats, and maybe a decent amount of raw and element. I mean, there's no chance to get one of these in every element, so a decent raw one might be our best option. We might be reverting to raw bow, not sure yet. So with all these bow stats out of the way, here's a few things I wanted to talk about regarding Rise bow. First off is the initial impressions. I've always been optimistic about the bow. While most people agree it's been feeling pretty bad in the demo, after playing around with a bow that has a good charge level and some dash juice here, I'm totally convinced the bow is still going to perform really great on launch. It's going to need a lot of items and gear to feel great, and obviously we're not going to have bows with great charge levels until endgame, so it's going to be a struggle to clear with the game with the default bows, I'm sure. Ultimately, Capcom's going to decide on how good bow will be, because we can only get 1 or 2 bows with adequate shot patterns, which is exactly what happened in 4U, Gen, GU, and all that stuff. So it would be a shame, but on paper, bow can still be really good. It's all up to Capcom, really. The next thing I want to talk about is bow being raw or elemental. So again, depends on Capcom. If we want to get a nice fat chunk of element on the bows, their call. And if we have like crit element skills or something like that, again, don't know, but it could be a thing. But the amount of arrows we're still firing is leaning towards elemental focus bows, just like World, because we can still dash dance and maintain our charge as long as we can, hold that stamina. And Old World bows still fired significantly less arrows, so element wasn't a big concern for them. We're still putting out a lot of arrows, and all the charge levels are going to get elemental modifiers, and if we have any sort of elemental skills, we'll be able to scale that up really well. So we might be leaning towards more of a mixed style bow, kind of like how we were at the Endo World, where, you know, raw bows were still just really fucking strong and we're just kind of putting element on the side. But again, it's going to depend, but we definitely have potential to do both. And then finally, some closing thoughts. So thank you if you made it this far. I kind of ramble a lot, and trying to make things coherent is rather rough. But anyhow, the bow. I still have really high hopes. Most of the deciding factors are up to Capcom on implementing good usable patterns, similar to bow guns, but all the tools are there to make bow a great weapon. I don't know what other switch skills are or the other like moves that you can change around for bow are, because I haven't seen any of that stuff, but even this base bow has potential to be great. Bow will definitely be slower than Wilt, that's for sure. It's not going to be like your top 3 DPS weapon forever as far as I can tell. It's going to be great, but it's going to be, you know, just slightly worse than it was before, and it's going to rub some people the wrong way, but trust me, it deserves to not be the best. Now, my biggest complaint is that aiming just feels kind of janky in the demo. I don't know if it's the demo or if it's the Switch, but I hate aiming on these controllers because the analogs have a dead zone, so you can't move your reticle fast or precise. You can kind of do one, but not both, depending on how you set up your options. I guess just after playing World Bow so much on the PC, hunters are going to think that Rise Bow feels really bad and janky. I mean, and to be fair, it does. It's not as bad as people are making it out to be. It's just that it isn't the end-all be-all weapon. Like, it's not as god tier as it used to be. I'm still a fan. I just kind of wish the aiming felt a little smoother. But yeah, that's basically all for me. So thank you all for watching. Let's get hyped for Rise, and good luck out there, hunters, and whatever you may be hunting.